Welcome back to another video. Now this video is all about the fans' favourites. I've asked a number of fans to give me their favourite ever Tottenham player, their favourite ever Tottenham manager, and their favourite ever Tottenham moment. Now let's start with mine. My favourite ever Tottenham player has to be Jurgen Klinsmann. He arrived in the summer of '94, just having played in the World Cup for Germany. An unbelievable signing. Incredible. Just an incredible all-round player. Scored some fantastic goals. He hit the ground running straight away. Scored on his debut in the Premier League away at Sheffield Wednesday, winning that game 4-3. Ossie Ardiles was our manager. A fantastic season, really, the 94-95 season. I know Ossie Ardiles ended up getting sacked that season. Joe Francis then came in. But Jurgen Klinsmann just carried on scoring goals. He had a fantastic partnership with Teddy Sheringham, and one I just loved to watch because Jurgen Klinsmann was such a very, very hard-working player and scored some fantastic goals. His home debut against Everton, the overhead scissor kick, absolutely fantastic. My favourite ever manager has to be Mauricio Pochettino. His relationship with the fans, everyone got him. The fact that he took us to a Champions League final, having not spent a penny in 518 days. Just the constant, giving us Tottenham fans Champions League football was just absolutely amazing, and I just hope that we have that again in the future. My favourite ever Tottenham moment, there's so many, but I'm going to put it down to Ajax away. Just that we just looked dead and buried. We were 3-0 down on aggregate, and then Lucas Moura to get that hat-trick, to put us through to the Champions League final. A special moment for me as well was the Champions League final on the 1st of June. Although we lost it, it was just fantastic to take my son Harry to the game, and my dad come as well, and 3 generations of Tottenham fans going to a Champions League final. I never ever thought that would happen, so that was another special moment. Anyway, let me know all of your favourites in the comments section below. So favourite ever Tottenham player, favourite ever Tottenham manager, and favourite ever Tottenham moment. Here are a few Spurs fans talking about theirs. This is part 1. There will be a couple of others because I've had lots of entries. So thank you very much to everybody who participated. So come on, you Spurs.
Favourite player, Jimmy Greaves by a million miles. Loved the swagger and his elegance and his skill. Just everything about him was superb and what have you. Met him a couple of times afterwards. What a lovely guy. Yeah. So favourite manager, for me, I would actually go with Venables at that time. I really enjoyed those swashbuckling times at that time. Yeah, we had some really good players there. We could have gone on and done something very special. Politics came along and spoilt that, unfortunately. But that's part of being a Spurs supporter, isn't it, really? As far as favourite moment as a Spurs fan, a wonderful night at the Lane, sitting in the Paxton Road, and it was actually in 2008. January 2008, and we had a little League Cup semi-final, and it was against Arsenal. Now, I was a little bit worried before we started. My daughter and my son had travelled up with me from Dorset, and we got into the Paxton End. It was a cracking atmosphere and what have you. We absolutely steamrolled them, and I tell you, we actually ended up coming through, I think 5-1. I was disappointed we scored, we conceded the 1. We then went on to win the League Cup in that year. Again, we looked as though we could actually go on to better things, but we weren't quite full. It's just what Spurs does, But loved the times, wonderful occasions, up in the Lane when everyone's happy and everyone's singing. It's coming for the rafters, mate. It's absolutely wonderful. And we just can't wait to get back there and we can start moving forward and becoming that super elite team that we're putting in place to actually be. Yeah, we actually were happy a few years ago to actually be on the shirt tails of the Manchester Uniteds and Liverpools and stuff like that. But now we can actually dine at the same table as them. So won't be long. Hopefully it will soon come back. Stay well, everyone. Stay fit, stay healthy, keep your distance. We want to see you all back at the lane again shortly. Come on, you Spurs.
All-time favourite Spurs player is Jermaine Defoe. When I was growing up, he was the guy that led the line, scored loads of goals. So for me, he was a very special player. I think during that time that he was at Spurs, I think he was very underrated. He could have potentially gone on to bigger things, given the size of the club at the time. But of course, an outstanding goal scorer. He went on to better Martin Chivers' all-time European goal record for the club, which of course held by Harry Kane. But yeah, Jermaine Defoe, very special player for me. That's why he's my all-time favourite Spurs player. The next one, the manager, my all-time favourite Spurs manager, I think it's a very obvious one. Mauricio Pochettino. I think what he did during his 5.5 years at the club was incredible in terms of regular Champions League football, of course the Champions League final, playing incredible attacking football, making fantastic teams, and just developing players. I think the way that he did that was incredible. Of course, he did so under working with real constraints in terms of the money that he was given. So yeah, I mean, he took us to levels that I never thought Spurs could go. For me, Mauricio Pochettino is, of course, my favourite ever Spurs manager. My favourite Spurs moment, I think you could of course go for the Champions League moments last season against Man City or Ajax. But for me, I think my favourite memory would have to be the first game at the new stadium against Crystal Palace. I think it was really, such a fantastic stadium. There was so much to look forward to in the rest of the season. And really it was just a sign of how far the club has come. It's, to be playing in a stadium like that was incredible. And of course we went on to win that game. And just the atmosphere at the club was really great. There was so much to look forward to. There was of course the Champions League quarter-final to look forward to, and then of course everything that led on from that. So for me, that 2-0 win against Palace on the first day of the new stadium was for me my favourite ever Spurs memory.
Whilst there's been so many fantastic players, individual players that have played for Spurs that I've been able to watch and had that good fortune, for me, Glenn Hoddle still remains my all-time favourite. Watching him play was magical. The things the guy could do on the ball was unbelievable. And in today's market, that guy would be £200 million. Absolutely. Yeah, there's been some great players since. Gaza, Bale, Modric, these players. But for me, still got to be Glenn Hoddle. In terms of manager, as much as I love Mauricio Pochettino, I guess I loved him more for him as a person and how he came across and how he had so much dignity and led the team with such style. But I don't think you can get away from the fact that Keith Birkinshaw, the general, has to be up there as number one for me, purely because he's my era, and he brought us the most success I've ever seen in my lifetime. So without Keith Birkinshaw, we wouldn't have had the success that we've had. So for me, he still remains the best manager we've had so far. Hopefully Mourinho can overcome that and actually get us somewhere better. In terms of favourite moment, again I have to go back to the 80s, I guess, being an older guy, being in the old Wembley and watching Ricky Villa weave his magic, for me remains such a fantastic experience, such a great moment, and to be able to sing when Steve went up to lift the FA Cup, I was there, was a great experience. Absolutely loved it. So for me, that still remains my most favourite Tottenham moment. I've had a few good ones, and not necessarily just around the football, but for me that's my top one. Up the Spurs.
Well, the favourite player is easier. It's Jimmy Greaves. He's my all-time favourite, and I really enjoyed watching his Greavesy programme the other day. on the TV, the new one. It really brought tears to my eyes. It was really touching, I thought. And favourite manager's got to be Bill Nicholson, because he put together the greatest team in Tottenham's history. It has to be him, because nobody else has come close, really. Tottenham was in his DNA. He really loved Tottenham, and he lived near the ground. He was there every day, and he's buried in the, he's got his ashes in the centre circle and everything. So, he has to be the favourite manager. Favourite moments, I've picked out 3 really. Jimmy Greaves scoring a hat-trick against Leicester in 1968 when he beat 4 players and he tucked the ball under Peter Shilton. The second one was White Lane, also Tony Parks saving that penalty against Anderlecht when we won the UEFA Cup on our own ground. That won't happen again. And thirdly, obviously, Ricky Villa being at Wembley for the replay against Manchester City in the cup final. So those are the 3 ones that I've picked out. I know you asked for one, but I'm going to be greedy.